Greetings to you today on this Thursday, the 18th of July. Our daily Devo today is entitled Regarding Contentment. It comes from the Charles Dickens work entitled The Old Curiosity Shop. We've been there before with him in the devotional book we're using here. Regarding contentment, you must keep up your spirits, mother, and not be lonesome because I'm not at home. I shall very often be able to look in when I come into town, and I shall send you a letter sometimes. And when the quarter comes round, I can get a holiday, of course, and then see if we don't take little Jacob to the play. I hope plays mayn't be sinful, Kit, but I am a most afraid, said Mrs. Nubbles. I know who has been putting that in your head, rejoined her son disconsolately. That's little Bethel again. Now I say, mother, pray don't take to going there regularly, for if I was to see your good-humored face that has always made home cheerful turned into a grievous one, and the baby trained to look grievous too, if I was to see this and see little Jacob looking grievous likewise, I should so take it to heart that I'm sure I should go out and enlist for a soldier and run my head on purpose against the first cannonball I saw coming my way. Oh, Kit, don't talk like that. I would indeed, mother, and unless you make me feel very wretched and uncomfortable, you'll keep that bow on your bonnet, which you'd more than half a mind to pull off last week. Can you suppose there's any harm in looking cheerful and being as cheerful as our poor circumstances will permit? Frustration between a son and his mother. Somewhat familiar with that. Here's the thoughts from Gene Fisher. Kit Nubbles, shop boy at the old curiosity shop, was concerned about his widowed mother's attitude. She always worried over whether or not what she and her children did was right and pleasing to God. But she worried overly so, and Kit was afraid that his mother unknowingly taught her children to be unhappy. Of course, we should try our best to live a solid Christian life, but in doing so, we should also be content with our trying and not worry excessively that it is not enough. Contentment is a gift from God. It comes when our hearts find peace, knowing that God is in control and that He loves us in spite of our imperfections. Romans 3:23 reminds us that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. As hard as we try, we cannot perfectly please Him. Fortunately, our contentment depends not on being perfect, but rather on accepting that we are not. In the New Testament, we read that Jesus came into the world so that we might have life and have it more abundantly, John 10:10. He came not to condemn, but to free. That's John 3:16 and 17. They don't call that for us here, but that's from John 3:16 and 17. He didn't come to condemn, He came to save. When we do our Christian best and accept God's mercy and forgiveness, then our hearts are free to be content. And we can put on a cheerful face in all of our circumstances. Just as Paul says in Philippians 4:11, I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. In other words, no matter what is going on in my life, whether I'm currently under arrest for preaching the gospel or whether I felt all alone like I did in Athens, all those different things he lists as difficulties, the whippings he's endured, the shipwrecks he's endured, all of those things. Very difficult life Paul had, taking the gospel to the lost. And yet he says, I have, no matter what, learned how to be content. And the only way to do that, to be content in those kinds of circumstances, is to trust the Lord, to know he's with you and you're with him, and that he's got this. He's got this. He has his hands on our lives. He has our hands on the events in our lives. And even things that are meant for evil against us, he can use for good. And he does. He does. Learn how to be content with who we are, what we have, who God is, what he has done and promises to continue to do for us. Contentment is an important part of walking by faith. Blessings to you today.